justice for all.
Thank you all for coming this evening on this chilly night and after our Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had a nice holiday. So this is our Monday, December 2nd meeting. So to kick it off, we'll start with the motion to open up a public hearing regarding local law extending a 6-month moratorium prohibiting the review, approval of certain land development applications. Have a motion? Have a second, please?
Second.
Okay. Public hearing is open for anyone who would like to make any comments. We just need your name, address, as usual. Yes, Sean?
Sean Hagerty, 4 Belvoir Drive. I'm not sure if the agenda changed from what I saw, but you had information you were going to talk about the wells at the Rieger wells.
This is just about the public hearing for the
Yeah.
local law right
you
now.
said, no, I have nothing for that.
Okay, all right.
But now I forewarned them.
Let me check my notes.
Okay.
Anyone else? Yes, Paul?
When you, Paul Lang, 10 Patriot Lane, when you say certain land development applications, that's specific?
General terms, I want to say, that's the language that we had received in the same resolutions that we've been,
Yeah,
through the public hearing that we've been using all along since over the last year and a half, 2 years now.
Mhm.
So, but it is for all properties
Okay.
and all zones.
So Bill Reardon, Washington Boulevard, so besides the Main Street development, at 50 address, the old doctor's office, that's.
61 East Main?
Other than that, are there other development projects that are being held up by this moratorium?
Yes.
Where?
36 North Street?
Yeah, I think 36 North Street is a renovation at this point.
Renovation of existing property?
I'm sorry?
I mean, a renovation of an existing structure?
Yes, yes. I believe Aurora Chemical has an application that's on hold. I think there was one from Orange County Transmission,
J&J.
J&J. Industrial, they're calling it. So that's behind the old Rob's Auto in Brookside area. There was a proposal over there. 2 that just come to, or 3 that kind of come to mind.
The old Episcopal Church wanted to do something, but that's on hold too.
Yeah, well, they sent the old Presbyterian Church or Episcopal Church right on 94 by the DPW. They had submitted just some preliminary drawings. They bought the church. They want to make some exterior renovations and some interior renovations, but it was very high level. It wasn't anything where they wanted to come and apply at the moment.
And then on Bushnell also.
Yeah, 30, it's before the stream. It's the big old white house that's been purchased for a number of years. And the gentleman who owns it is just waiting for the zoning and everything to happen so that he can proceed with his renovation of that house.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Michael?
Mike President on 3 Lark Street. The bank in the village, I thought I saw some construction going on there as far as the building moratorium, that's why I'm asking about that.
Oh, so what was going on at the bank, someone had backed into or pulled into one of the support columns of the
okay.
overhang.
Gotcha,
So they were going in there and making the repairs.
gotcha.
We haven't heard from either bank in regards to anything active. TD Bank had, they've been very unresponsive. And the other Bank of America, I was actually communicating with a VP of real estate, and we've kind of let them know what we're kind of interested in, so we'll wait and see what they come back with, if anything. Vinny?
Vinny Lang from Front Court. How many more times can we extend the moratorium? Is this the last time?
Well, this will be our last time. Is there a limitation on it? I'm not aware of it, but you can tell me. I mean, it's not perpetual, let's put it that way. It needs to obviously come to an end. We extended it
And
as...
where are we at on the comp plan? That's what we're waiting on.
Well, exactly, so we're at that point, and I'll let Donna kick in, because she's been the lead on the comp plan and everything else, but I think we had mentioned when we had the introductory for the public hearing, that we weren't going to probably need that 6 months, because we're really at the end of the cycle of reviewing the comp plan documentation and the local laws. So if there's anything more you want to
We won't
throw
be the
at
6 months, we're at the very tail end at this
Yeah.
point. The comp committee met for the last time before they will hold a public hearing, which we believe right now looks like January 6th. And then depending on comments from that, they present then the new comp plan to us, the village board, for us to adopt. So you can mark your calendars, there will be a public hearing January 6th. And then that should be closed that same evening. They can take into consideration some of the comments. Doesn't mean that just because it's closed, it can't be revised. Then we take a look at it. Then the village board holds a public hearing for the adoption of the comp plan and the zoning. Most likely, we will do that in one meeting. I spoke with Bonnie about that. That should be it. Depending on what comes from the public hearing with the comp committee, will kind of guide us in when we will have our public hearing for both. But regardless, March should be the latest as far as what I can see right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Okay. Any comments from the board? Okay. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close.
Can I have a second?
Second.
We got Steve on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Motion passes. Oh, I'll just make a quick comment. We did it just about a half hour ago. We did receive an email from Barada Realty, which was doing an amended site plan for Aurora Chemical. They had sent us a letter, so we'll add this on behalf of their attorneys of Whitman, Waster, and Hannah, or Wasterman and Hannah, out of Albany, and we'll include that in our minutes and documentation, just to put that officially in there.
Is that pertaining to the moratorium?
It pertains to the moratorium where they were requesting to exempt commercial property. At the end of the day, they didn't think there would be much of a change in the industrial zone. That was their comment. And we're gonna reach out to them, because I did talk to the president of the company, telling them that we were basically around the corner of getting this thing done. But I'm not sure if they got the word, so we'll reach out to them and just explain where we are. Okay. Next would be just public comment on the agenda items. Sean?
I think you took the one item off. Did you change there was something on about wells?
It went to a resolution, I believe, right?
Wells. Oh, there is,
210s.
there is a resolution for a well, with WIIA for a grant for the well that we're proposing over at High Grove. That will be going out to apply for a grant through the engineering firm.
All right, so my question is with the wells is, there was a well over by Hudson Street. Has that ever been put back online?
Hudson Street.
Right
No,
about where the well,
that
welcome to
well has
Washington.
been abandoned. It's before you go over the stream
Correct.
on the left. Yeah, that well has been abandoned for a lot of years.
Well, it was abandoned when it was infiltrated during the flood, and so were the Rieger wells contaminated at that time. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering, have you ever gone back to check? It's drilled there. I don't know if they took the well head out or what they did.
The last time that well was in use, and I think they decided not to use it, and I can't remember when that happened, but it was only a 5 per gallon minute well, and it was just non-producing at the end of the day. That was the biggest issue with
Okay,
it.
so it'll be a waste of money, basically.
Exactly.
With the rigger wells, where's the building gonna be? Are we gonna use the building that's
We're
existing?
talking about the High Grove, that's
High
still in design phase, we're still waiting to hear from the engineering firm, how they want to set that up.
Because all the wells are over in wetlands, correct?
I'd have to look at the 100-year Army Corps
Well,
DEC
those wetlands
map.
flooded back during that flood also.
I don't believe, well, I'll double check, but I don't believe with that elevation, that water, because our wells are adjacent to the Borden Field bus garage, right?
The rigger wells?
Well, when you say Rieger, which wells are you
The
referring
ones over in
to?
High Grove.
Well, the High Grove well,
Which borderline? might be-
There's two over there they were contaminated at the time supposedly.
I'm not sure. I don't recall them being contaminated. It was just a question of that they were dug. One well was, the better well was producing silt, and the less than better well was okay. And that's the wells that we're going after now.
So, do you plan on using the existing building that was bought and paid for? Or do you plan on spending more money on another building?
Like I just mentioned, we're waiting to have that conversation with the engineering firm and to see what they think is the best alternative to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, because that building, as I understand it, was built, which was the concession stand and the garage, which was supposed to be the chlorination area.
Right.
But they all know that, and we're just waiting to see what they think the best action or the best plan would be to, you know, to put a small building there, obviously to house the pump and the electric to get the water out, or,
You'd have to put a road in or some kind of area to travel, go in and
yeah,
out.
I mean, it'd
also,
be a
which would
gravel road
cross-
of some sort to get back, you know, to get in there, yes, I would imagine. Because the one we're going after, proximity-wise, isn't too far off the curb line. So they need to, the other one is further in, and that's the better well, but it was very silty back then when we tested it. So we can see what we're gonna do with this well, and I would still like to retest that well to see if the clarity of the water got better, and if the gallons of water coming out of that well would, you know, be worth the effort down the road.
Look forward to final answer.
Yeah, us too.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Ben. You're welcome.
Getting back from Park Court, how did we make out with the roof on the sewer plant during snowfall? Was it heavy snowfall? Cement parks up there?
Well, what we ended up doing is we covered all the electrical components in the room. We took out all the ceiling tiles, and the roof, even with 3 layers of tarp, was leaking in various areas. Some areas that are in the belt press area, which is always wet, so that really wasn't our biggest concern. But there's an electrical room behind that, and then the office space, and then another room behind that, which was storage, and also has electrical. So we sealed all the boxes, we did everything we could to protect everything. We checked on
No
it.
other damage other than the roof?
I'm sorry?
No other damage other than the roof or repair?
No, everything, like I said, we had some ceiling tiles that got damaged. So rather than replacing or pulling one down at a time, we just took all the ceiling tiles down. And then we can reorganize what's up there, because there were some wires that were, who knows what, cut, just laying there. So we'll clean up the ceiling, and then we'll replace the tiles when everything is said and done. And I guess since you're talking about it, and it is part of the discussion, by Wednesday or Thursday, they'll be half completed. They started to put in the call it styrofoam or foam insulation. So they're probably about a third in. They plan on having all of that installed by Wednesday or Thursday, which would be about a halfway point on the construction side of that. And then the rest of it will be, you know, the rubber membranes and the other parts of the roof that need to be completed. So they're weather dependent, dependent, of course. It's hopefully another maybe 2 weeks, not even. They did come up and work on Saturdays and Sundays when they started, so that was a good start. They were in over this past weekend, but that was really to remove the ice and water off of the tarps that were on the roof, so they can get to the point of starting to do the installation of the roof itself. The area, the power pit area had been done, I think, within 2 days after our meeting and approval. That was all the block had been installed, so that's ready to go. And now that that's up, the insulation that they have is against it and, running downhill towards the points where they'll have the gutters off the side of the buildings. So, but everything will remain covered until such point that the roof is on, and we know we're good to go, and we have our warranty in hand, and we'll be good to go. Okay. Any other agenda item questions, guys? Okay. Just a reminder, update on Whoville, which is Saturday, this coming Saturday, from basically 12 to 4, 12 to 5 is most of the activity with vendors in A.J. McLaughlin Square. So Friday will be busy, or Saturday actually, putting up the fencing and so forth, preparing for the parade of fire trucks and other vehicles at 6 o'clock. So the road, we have a meeting tomorrow, the final meeting, to nail any other questions down or any other issues, but everyone is prepared and ready to go. And we'll be posting on the websites, social media, the closing timetables of different roads and so forth as the fire trucks are coming in and stacking themselves up on Capitol Drive. I'm sorry, Decker Drive. I always get it backwards. Always. Let's see. So if you can attend, it should be a lot of fun. Again, in the afternoon, they'll have vendors and so forth down on West 29, Main Street, where the old Village Hall used to be. Let's see. We just did receive, we had a couple of grants. I think we mentioned one from Orange County and another one from Greene County Bank to purchase the installation, or we're going to be doing the installation, but the purchase of the new crosswalk warning light systems, which will be totally solar. We can disconnect those 2 lights from power. Actually, one light has been removed already for a bunch of years, but the other light will be removed. And we'll get to that project as time permits, weather-wise. Thank you. The other thing that I skipped over that brought to my attention is number 2, which was the New York State Conference of Mayors. And they do a kind of a press release once a month, twice a month, depending on what's going on with the bills. But one of the big things that they are pushing again is the increase of state aid. Again, it's been 15 years since they've increased any aid. So the 24-25 adopted budget finally was including $50 million. Increase in unrestricted aid for cities, villages, and towns. And as I mentioned in previous meetings, that they're going to be reworking. They put money aside in the budget to relook at the allocations of how money is distributed, because our little village, as active as probably any other village, we get $13,000. And that doesn't seem fair when you see other villages or other municipalities based on what formula, no one really seems to know, but they end up with $200,000. So we'll be keeping our eye on that and chasing it, and it was one of the big priorities on our list that I had mentioned at our last meeting. So more to come on that. We did talk about the sewer plant roof. Orange and Rockland, there's been just rounds of, our police department goes around in the evenings and looks for, one of the things we ask them to do is if they notice there's any street lights out, if anybody, a resident sees a street light out, if you could just give us the location of the pole, because street lights, you pay for that power regardless if they're working or if they're off, which doesn't make much sense, but there's no meter on them, so they come up with a calculation and they charge you for the use of the lights. So we go on the website, we submit the number of lights that are out, and then they're supposed to come out and make those repairs. So a number of residents we told them it was repaired, that we had gotten information back from O&R, and then O&R had said, yeah, we're fixed, and then the resident would say, hey, I'm out here, and it's dark and it's not lit. So it's one of those constant revolving doors where we're working with them, trying to get them out there to repair the lights as efficiently and as quick as possible. So just a note for the record. We are letters into our assembly, and we actually have a project number now for generators to get a grant for the village hall in our DPW building. And there really isn't much news except that, because this process with what they call DASNY grants can take anywhere from 12 months to 18 months to fruition before you would see any money. So, but we received quotes, we are actively pursuing it and working with New York State, and hopefully we'll get some news about it, and we'll keep you guys in the loop with all of that. Traffic reports. There was a comment made at one of our meetings about, obviously speeding vehicles and so forth. So our police department and our chief, unfortunately, isn't here this evening, but we have an analyzer that we had recently received. So part of it was a test, and we were on Arrow Point Lane, and we did determine on Arrow Point, I think was one of the roads, that we did a survey from 11/18 to 11/25, that we analyzed 5,800 cars. Potentially, depending, the speed limit is 25 miles an hour. Average speed for most of these vehicles was 24 miles an hour. We did have somebody doing 78 miles an hour, and the slowest speed was 7 miles an hour. According to the calculations, they say enforceable violations is like 6%, which according to the data that we receive is a low number. So just as an example, we're going to use this tool on different roads and try to, we'll be out there taking this data, and if necessary, pulling cars over and giving warnings and doing the things we need to do for our neighbors to, slow down and, pay attention to your surroundings. And if we're late, it doesn't mean we need to speed down the road at any particular speed. So just to let you know that that's out there. If anyone is interested, I can share this data with you, and I can have the chief even email it to you if that helps. Let's see. Next is the budget public hearings that we're going to be holding. First one will be on Monday, January 6th, 2025, and Monday, January 13th, 2025. And the adoption of the budget will be held on February 3rd, 2025. So just to give you a rundown on that, and the budget process is continuing. Treasurer is meeting with departments, we're meeting with the departments, the individual liaisons to the departments are having meetings and going over their budgets and tweaking and doing everything we can. And then, again, we'll present it and we'll take it from there. We will be doing an extension, a resolution on the tax cap. So that will just allow us, if necessary, to go over the 2% that will be not in violation with New York State, just part of a normal procedure.
Will you get the proposed budget prior to the 6th?
Yeah, that would be a plan, sure. Yeah, we'll post it online and we'll let you know. Any comments or anything from the board, anybody? Okay.
Glad we started early this year.
What's that?
Glad we started early this year.
Yeah, me too. I mean, there's so many things going on. It's, we just needed to, absolutely. All right, so stepping into the resolutions, we have a resolution 0208 to accept the Architectural Review Board sign application for Access PT Physiotherapy located at 83 East Main Street. We have the application. The sign has been reviewed by the building department. The board has a chance to review it. It's very similar to a little bit in the ways of Peak Physical Therapy, the sign that was there. They're using pretty much the same facade of it. Lights and everything else will be exactly the same, just the sign itself will be changing, so, oh, very
I
nice.
see it.
Does the board have any,
No,
okay, so, can I have a motion
motion.
to accept? Second. Steve at the second. Motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0, thank you very much. I'll sign off on that. For that. Next is resolution 240209 to accept the sewer plant roof emergency repair bond in the amount of $185,000 even. And let's see, the bond resolution of the Village of Washingtonville adopted December 2nd, 2024, authorizing the replacement of the roof at the village wastewater treatment plant, stating the estimated maximum cost thereof is $185,000, appropriating said amount for each purpose and authorizing the issuance of bonds in the principal amount of $185,000 to finance said appropriation. Could I have a motion?
Motion. Question?
Let me just get to the second. Paul, and I'll take it. Vernon,
Well, if you're gonna vote, it's gonna be done.
I'm sorry?
I said, if you're gonna vote, it's gonna
Before
be
the
done.
vote.
No,
Oh,
we'll just
okay.
get the second, then it's conversation. Steve on the second. Okay,
Steve.
comments, questions? Yeah. Oh, you made the second, I'm sorry.
It was the first.
Oh, you were first? Okay. You got it. Any questions, comments from the board?
No.
Okay, Paul?
Paul Lane, Bakery Lane. Well, last month it was not to exceed 172,000, so why is the bond 185?
A little, really more the fees of the bond council and the municipal finance people to include
That
their
much?
fees. Potentially, yes. Yeah,
So how does that affect that resolution back in?
that
November.
resolution was for construction. This is for the bond that we, when we do this, we want to include their fees in the bond. Because if there are generally in the neighborhood of $2,000 to $6,000,
This is a
when they
lot
come
more than
in.
that.
huh?
That's a lot more than that. 172 to 185.
Well, 172,
13.
right,
It's $13,000 difference.
okay.
That's
And
not-
that was the recommended number that we got from the bond council.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but how does that affect, how does this number, the 180, you're going for a bond for 180, does that affect that resolution back in November? Not to exceed 172?
I don't,
Because now you'll be spending more than 172.
right, but that, we
With-
needed to
with-
modify it,
with
and
the
I'll
fees.
check with the attorney, but that number was for the construction cost. This number is to include construction with
That's
the
what I'm saying.
legal fees.
That's what I'm saying, you gotta, I would think you gotta change that. I don't know.
I'm looking at
Mr.
the
Attorney,
resolution.
is there,
I'm looking at the resolution.
okay,
Let me pull it up.
24,200. 24,200.
I miss the old Jeopardy music, by the way.
is that Danny? No, that's, Jeopardy. We can do a recording.
So, Bill Gray, while he's looking that up, when is the 185 due? When is the bond mature?
Well, we're gonna make that decision. We're doing this in case we need to borrow the money. So as we're getting into the budget towards the end and we know what kind of either fund balance we have,
This is a contingency case.
correct.
This is not a,
It's not in stone.
Oh, no,
This
that's
just
it.
allows us to move forward if we need to.
if we don't need to, then the cost is staying at 172.
The cost will be a 172 and we will make payments out of our sewer fund. But we would also like to know where we are at the end of the year, and if we have a fund balance, as we've talked about. It's always nice to have some seed money in water and sewer and our general fund.
Is the treasurer gonna come back and give us a water and sewer fund?
Yes, yes, we're planning on it the next meeting. We've just been very, very busy with budgets and year-end stuff, and the auditors are tearing us apart on the 2023 budget and information and data that we are having a very, very hard time trying to locate, and they're relentless, they're not giving up. So, that has eaten away over probably 70% of our days is looking for data and information that we can't locate. And if it comes down to that, that's the way they're gonna report it, just like the 20, 21, and 22 audit. Because a lot of it was in March when that 1.6 million was paid, there wasn't a lot of documentation with that.
So I don't have a digital copy of the resolution with me on my system, and it's not yet up on.
It was
Okay.
not to exceed 172,000, right?
That was the construction
Yes.
I
cost.
will check the resolution, if
Okay.
necessary, we'll
And if we need,
review the resolution as necessary.
okay. Let us know.
But rather than hold things up,
Right. So we had the motion, we have a second. If there's no other comment from the audience, then all in favor?
Aye.
can we do a roll call for this one,
Contingent.
please?
I'm sorry?
Can we do a roll call for this one?
Sure. Absolutely. Trustee Wolski?
Yes.
Trustee Coleman?
Yes.
Trustee Jacaruso?
Yes.
And Mr. Pritchard?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Motion
Okay,
passes 5-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Next resolution, 240210, to authorize mayor to apply for a WIIA grant and/or IMG grant for project described in the application for a new well in the High Grove Development Area. Can I have a motion? Vernon, Steve. Question, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, thank you. Next is a resolution to accept bid proposals for regular unleaded gas and/or on-road diesel fuel sealed bids to be received at the Village Hall no later than 3:30 p.m. on December 13th. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Steve on the motion, Susan on the second. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Resolution 240212, authorize the approval of cable television franchise agreement with Spectrum Northeast LLC for a period of 10 years. I have a motion? Vernon, second? Steve? Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next resolution, 240213, to authorize the adoption of local law number 7 of the year 2024, entitled Extended Moratorium Prohibiting the Review and Approval of Certain Land Development Applications in the Village of Washingtonville for 6 months. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Vernon. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next resolution, 240214, to schedule a public hearing regarding the adoption of local law authorizing a public tax levy in excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law, Section 3C, to be held on Monday, January 6, 2025, at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as can be heard. A motion?
Motion.
Steve, second. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you again. Next, resolution 240215 to authorize the budget transfers and amendments as necessary to effect necessary transfers of funds and to pay village warrants. Have a motion? Second? Donna? Any questions, comments on the abstract? Okay, I'll just note for the public, the abstract for the general fund this particular week is $603,922.56. The majority of that is New York State retirement contributions for $136,841, and public contribution on behalf of the village is $447,692. Coming out of the water fund is $1,085.18, and out of the sewer fund is an even $2,000. And then we'll pass that abstract about.
And that's for 2 weeks, right?
Yes, 2 weeks. We pay bills every 2 weeks after we do these abstracts, so give that to you guys. Next would be public comment. Anybody else? Yes.
Nancy Donaldson, 4 Huntington Park. I forgot what is going on with the renovation on North Street, how is the green fencing?
I know I've had a bunch of conversations with the building inspector about it, because there were, I think, a number of open building permit issues that he still needed to address from, and we were waiting on architectural plans. Because the interior of the building, some of the walls have, because of the age and, you know, what they were doing way back when, but they were 2x4 walls. And some of the renovations that they were doing inside required, you know, different size lumber, I'll call it. And so we were waiting for an architect's updated plans to the building department before they could continue. I know they put a fence around it. We have requested that the windows be closed and seal it up, obviously for weather and other type birds could be flying in the house. It's obviously vacant, but we don't want it to become a major eyesore.
Is it turning into apartments or?
No. It was, I believe at this point it was 2-family, I think it was.
I'm not sure about
Okay.
that. The original renderings were not E-code compliant either, so there were violations. The request was that they have to resubmit architectural and/or engineer renderings that are compliant, and it's been taking quite a while.
Yeah.
They requested the fence to avoid any potential vandalism. It is temporary, but it is remaining.
I'll get the information for you and see if, you know, exactly if it was reverting to just a single family or if it was a 2-family.
The intent was to make it 2-family.
Yeah, that's what I recall, but we can check into that for sure, especially when we get the architectural plans.
But there were some structural issues in the basement that needed engineering to be done with them.
Right.
Is that one of the historical homes?
Well, it's not designated. Okay, we jumped through hoops to try to get the owner to allow a plaque for the state. But, I mean, when we are revising the comp plan, and I told you we were gonna have a historical district, that home will be included in that. But it's not on the National Registry. No, I believe we only have 4 or 6 structures in our village that are on the historical, registered on the National Historical.
Already?
Well, like Moffett Library is one, Brotherhood Winery is one. I think that's, the cemetery there is one, I believe.
Washington Hill Cemetery.
Washington Hill Cemetery.
And I believe the church.
First Presbyterian Church. I'm not sure, I don't think it is. Yeah. But, you know, it's up to the owner.
just so you know, although there is both a national and a New York State Historic Registry, you cannot force people to join it.
But we can include them in our historical,
In our districts.
Any other, Paul?
All Lines Patriot Lane, I have two things actually. So when I get my water bill and I come down and I pay it, I got water, sewer, facility. Water goes to the water, sewer goes to the sewer fund, facility for the plant. So where did the money, and this is why I'm really disappointed that we didn't have this presentation, the financial update on water and sewer. Where did the money from the water sales go? Did that go into the water fund?
Yes,
Well, all went into the water fund? Over $100,000?
Oh,
Whatever.
Spindler,
You-
Spindler money.
oh, you're talking Spindler money?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say Spindler. That money is going,
I didn't say Spindler, I said water sales.
oh, okay, well, that could mean all sales. So at the end of the day, that money is in a separate account, and we're using that money, as we've discussed previously, for the engineering firm that's developing the well.
Can't we use that money maybe, I mean, a lot of residents have mentioned it. Can't we use that money to reduce the water rates? I mean, throw it into that water fund? Shouldn't we have money set
Well,
aside for
you know, it's like-
engineering?
I don't know, engineering fees, we'd have to potentially budget for that money, right?
We usually do, don't you budget for
So,
engineering?
but I'm looking, and I think we're all looking at that money as basically found money that we could use for the purposes of developing the well to get it to the point of engineering, and hopefully, again, we can get a grant to pay for a well that could be in the neighborhood of 1.5 to 1.9 million dollars. So we look at that, or me specifically, and the board can speak freely here, but when we looked at that money, we thought it would be good seed money to put towards that versus needing to, down the road, raising the water rate to come up with some funds that we could then pay the engineer. We have this money coming in, why not utilize it and not have to worry about changing rates or doing anything else within the water fund? We thought that was a better way of utilizing that money.
I'm just saying that money was paid for water, so you would think that it should, legally or otherwise, go into the water fund.
Well, it is in the water
Rather than
fund,
using it for what we
and it's
wanted.
being used for a water project.
Yeah.
It's not a sewer project, it's not a,
Well, we do have lines in the budget for engineering.
in the water department,
Yeah.
correct, yes. So that's, we thought was,
Yeah, but that
and I
was
mean,
before you had that money.
well, it's a small amount of money, I mean, we're talking
100,000.
nothing compared to, what an engineering firm is gonna be charging for developing the plans and DEC permits and everything else to get you to the point that you could even think about, using that well. I mean, yeah, we have engineering in water, we have engineering in sewer, but it's not a lot of money because it's really there for, I'll call it incidentals if something needs to be looked at by an engineer. But generally speaking, no, not a lot of money. We don't budget $100,000, but we have this seed money, and again, to me, Paul, it just makes sense to utilize that.
All right, two other things. Do we have an update on how many meters have been installed? Last meeting was 53,
59,
59,
and there were 3 more going in tomorrow.
okay? And the last thing is, do we still have own the building department vehicle?
Do we have the vehicle? Yes, we do.
We still own it, yeah?
Yes, we do.
Okay. We're not
It's being utilized by DPW.
All right, are we actively looking for any employees, any like clerks? We got the clerk over
Yeah,
there at
that's,
the end.
yeah, part of our plan is to have that conversation in the next potential week to basically hire part-timers for water and sewer, another clerk, we need our afternoon clerk, so it could be potentially 3 additional FT or part-timers. Joan has had some medical things going on, so she's been absent. The afternoon person took on a full-time job at the school system, as we all discussed. And so we're looking at filling that, potential part-time financial person, an accountant type person, and folks for the front window.
All right, and do we know the level of the wells today?
27.6, they came up,
27?
I'm sorry, 26.7,
Oh.
they came up about a foot,
Okay.
yeah. So we're holding off on installing the pumps that we were thinking about doing after Thanksgiving. But that water that, between the rain, snow, and whatever else, the well levels have risen, which is a good sign.
All right,
So
thank
we're
you.
kind of sitting tight, and we'll monitor that and see where it goes. Yes?
Yeah, Jim Casassa. I printed out the agenda earlier today, it might have been changed, because I didn't pick one up when I came in.
Okay.
But the one I printed out had an item about a change to the water and sewer hookup fees. Has that been deleted from the agenda, or did I just?
It was taken off the agenda because we needed to discuss, we believe it was really more, and that could be done by resolution, needs to be a local law.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes?
Sean Hagerty, 4 Belvoir Drive. I asked about the maybe possible fly tipping on Tolman Road. Has anybody looked at that?
The what, I'm sorry?
Fly tipping, dumping on Tolman Road at the last meeting. It's got to be in your minutes from the last meeting.
What area in Tolman?
Between Tolman, on Tolman,
By
between
Canterbury and
Canterbury
Decker.
and, anybody look at that?
We have looked at that, and that's private property. We've discussed it with the homeowners in the past.
Oh.
That they should not be dumping on the other side of their fences because they actually own it. They actually,
They don't have
probably
the
in the
guardrail?
summertime, they asked us to come and clean it up. And it's not a green area. They own right to the street.
Okay, that's their business then.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other thing is, we had electrical work done at Burn Allen Park for the pickleball courts.
Yes.
All the conduit is left there that they took down. Is there a reason they left it behind? It's all, dried out, probably no good to anything.
No. No reason.
Did they change a lot of wiring there?
The wiring that they changed was from the bottom of the telephone pole up.
But they took that with them, because that had value. They didn't dump that with the conduit, in other words.
So they left the pipes.
They left the conduit, it's along the shed, one of the
Yeah.
sheds there.
I'll take a look at it tomorrow.
It's ridiculous. You can leave the conduit, but you're gonna take the copper worth money. Take
Now
care
I'm
of
gonna call them
business.
tomorrow and tell them to pick it up.
And that shed, I don't know if you're gonna store the pickleball stuff in it, but the window in the back is open, there's no glass in it, there's no screen,
Yeah, I
no
saw
nothing.
that the other day.
Raccoons can go in there, mice can go in there, small kid could probably even climb in.
Thanks, Sean. Anybody else? Michael?
Tom, Mike Graziano, 3 Large Street. Tom, this is a moot point, but I just want to say it anyway. The resolution to give Spectrum 10 more years or something, and I know we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, about, Verizon has this area, Spectrum has this area, but it creates such a monopoly that, there's not much you guys can do about it. Even if you said, no, you're not going to grant them 10 more years here. But it's just such a bad situation. The only thing the public could do is to go to a streaming service, which I did that.
Right.
I'll talk for the elderly, because I know someone close to me that pays like $233 a month, has absolutely nothing other than cable TV, the internet, and the telephone. $233 a month, a senior.
Yeah.
And it's like, they have there's no checks and and balance, because there's no other there's no competition.
I know.
And it's like, you know, it's kind of a mute point, but I just wanted to express it.
Well, I feel your frustration,
Yeah,
because as a homeowner, I think everybody in this room, and out in our village,
Yeah.
probably experiences the same thing. For me personally, you know, I had Spectrum, I have a lot of TVs, but what they wanted per TV, I
Yeah.
couldn't do it.
yeah,
So I jumped ship,
yeah,
and I went to DirecTV,
yeah.
and I've been with them for a bunch of years. And, you know, out there, just ask and see if they have any special offers,
Yeah,
and that's what I did.
yeah,
And I'm saving $60 a month,
yeah,
and, you know, you just gotta, I hate to say you gotta threaten them sometimes, but you just gotta, say, listen, if I'm not gonna get the same thing, or drives me crazy, right, they do an offer, you're already a user of X phone, but only for the new people
Right.
will get that deal.
right.
Well, I've been a customer of yours for 5 to 10 years, why am I not getting the same value?
Yeah.
So, you know, what do people do? They jump ship, they're off it for a while, then they potentially can come back. Some of them now, I hear though, are saying if you leave, you can't come back for a year.
No,
So they're really, you know, they're trying to reduce that kind of stuff, so. But I feel your pain, you know,
just felt good to say it. That's-
yeah, you feel better?
I feel better.
Mike,
Thank you.
also, every year, twice a year, I go to the escalation department,
Yeah,
you know, and you say you have this offer, and
I've done
there's
that.
always some type of a package that they offer. You might have to choose 10 channel stations or whatever it is, but I try to keep mine a bit, I know he's way higher, like I'm about 175
Yeah.
for all three. But you know,
I've done that before with them when I was a customer. I was on the phone with them for an hour, literally an hour. And they didn't do anything. They just wanted to cut my service to lower my bill.
they've always
Yeah.
worked with me, it's been
Yeah,
years.
it was
and
difficult, but I understand. I've tried that before. And
Yeah.
I have been successful sometimes, other times not. But,
Yeah,
You still have a landline, that's the thing, if you're still using a landline,
Well, the
you can't
internet,
just get rid of
too.
your landline,
The
because it's so
internet
minimal.
too. I mean, they've got a monopoly. And if you had
They've been pushing
other
back for
companies, it'd be
years.
nice, but.
yeah,
No, I get it.
got it. Thanks, Mike.
Let's go.
Anyone else? Going once, twice. Could I have a motion to close the meeting?
Motion to close.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
everybody. Thanks for coming. See
a
you
good night.
Saturday after parade.
Have a good night.
We can have dinner.
No, I make copies. They're yours.
Take it easy, Johnny.
Thanks, Paul.
Johnny Cochran, that's all, Johnny.
It's been what there?
Anything good?
Yeah.
I thought it would be like her first initial meeting.
Members.
Some of us have names, some of us have no. It used to be how our idea came up with much.
Yes.
I was looking for it on the website.
Thank you, Bill. They'll show you
Yeah.
how.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
There are no meetings, there's nothing. I'm telling you, all the years I lived there, I remember there was like maybe 3 meetings. Who's calling the meeting? There's no board. Okay, so like me, I have to finish it up.
You guys jump in, New York, they're for presidents and directors, and you need 5. So you get together as a group, and you do a simple nomination of anybody who wants to be a board member.
I mean, you have to have,
Yeah.
that's how you get a.
Maybe. All right, yes. It's off the green house.
It says there in the bylaws.
Do they accept props?
They do accept us. Let's check. No, it's not a
Oh, God.
yeah, Proxies are fine.
Both of you, to get everybody.
They just have to be signed, so they can't be by email.
Okay, so that's easy enough, we,
Really wanted to.
they can't have, you hand them a binder, just like this, and then you can do it without 50% there, you just need 50% with proxies.
You need 50% of proxies, and you need to have 5 directors.
Yes.
Drawing up the documents,
Yeah.
who's mailing, or,
It doesn't have to be anything crazy. You make a motion, just like here.
Yeah, it's, the answer is, it's completely arbitrary for your bylaws, because there's no board. And the board would be the
Probably been that long.
70%.
The problem is,
Do it.
the way this thing was written, it's when the developer was there. So the developer was assigning members to the board. Now that he's gone, people who are living there. It doesn't say how they're But if you
No,
like
it's smart, it's smart. They
you
might
have it,
never
put
know.
it
I'll update you next month. I'll update you next month.
Board position.
What time is that?
5 people show up, 6 people show up, and if whatever, then you have an election.
It's back in.
And then based upon the election, you hire your.
Hang out with them someplace, what time, so is her, she got piano at one noon?
It's horse riding, but that's on Saturday.
Oh,
So, but since the weekends are switched because of Thanksgiving,
oh, that's
then you might not have horse
why.
riding.
not there.
Put up stuff that they really want to talk about.
Saturday night.
That goes on here.
That's okay.
Those go on here.
Well, the number, I'm saying, I didn't say the number, I'm just saying, the whole deal.
Yeah, that's Saturday.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
Oh, I'm saying instead of writing, I'm just taking.
Drive
Not
it.
first, yeah. All right, I'm gonna go with you.
And they're doing,
Like Chris,
they have a vote coming up on December 10th.
a question, not.
And it's from 3 to 8.
Oh,